first off, thank you everyone for joining us for what is the second workshop on metacognitive prediction of AI behavior. Many of you I know attended the first one, but we also have a lot of new faces here too, which is really cool. You know, organizers, so me and Nate Bastian here as co-chairs. Also, Jerry Samari and Mario Leva, who are not here, also did a lot of work to help get this going. And also, many of you I know reviewed papers. Want to thank you all to those who did that. Just a little bit of the history. The way this started was I was running a startup company on sabbatical, and we had a machine learning product, and the product would break every so often because the data distribution would change. And after my sabbatical ended, I thought, hey, you know, I want to develop some ideas to kind of address this problem. And after talking with Bruce Draper, who was at DARPA, I was trying to kind of sell him on my idea. He says, hey, what you're doing is metacognition. And then I got to talking to Rob Saint-Amant at Army Research Office, and I said, hey, I'm doing this thing. Bruce says it's metacognition. And Rob says, he's like, you know, this is a really interesting idea. I know other people that are doing related things to this. So we need to get everyone together and have a workshop. And so, yeah, thank you, Ron. I guess that's the official start. So Rob said, hey, you know, send me a proposal for like 20 grand. We'll fly a bunch of people to Arizona and we'll have this workshop. So we did this, and we had it in November of 23 because that's when the nice weather is in Arizona. And you can look at the talks. Most of the talks we posted on the YouTube channel. And by the way, I want to do the same here, so if you want your talk recorded, and you didn't fill out the release, you can do that and we'll record you. Well, we found what happened with this was we had a lot of people come from different disciplines, which was really cool. You know, we had a statistician, we had some mech engineering folks, of course a lot of computer science. We also had a lot of people doing things more on the cognitive side. Which is kind of how, you know, like Sergey is here and Andrea for his keynote kind of came out of that group. Now, moving forward to this year, what has changed is the first edition was by invite only, and there was no, you know, at the event we didn't require anyone to submit papers. We just said, hey, you know, we know you're doing work in this area, you know, we know what your papers are about, would you like to come and speak, and we'll pay for the trip. Here we're kind of starting to move more toward a traditional academic venue, but we didn't want to just have a very heavy process around it. So we did have a peer review process this time, but the stress was on having non-archival papers associated with this event. Now let's see if I can. No. But anyway, if you go to the website that we set up, and I'll put the link up in a little bit, you could see all the non-archival versions of the paper. Now, we did get approved for, you know, when we did the first version, we actually did a book that's going to come out in a couple months. I just saw the final proof by Cambridge University Press. This time we're not doing a book, we're doing a special issue of IEEE Intelligent Systems, which is a pretty good journal, and I'll show some details on that a bit. We do have an industry sponsor, SSCI, who's paid for our keynote. Maybe Todd, would you like to say some words real quick?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. Thanks, Don. Yes, my name is Todd Hughes. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Scientific Systems. If you haven't heard of us, we're an autonomy company, so we build software that ranges from at the edge of autonomous systems in all domains, from satellites to digital agents, all the way through command and control and mission planning types of software for controlling large teams of autonomous devices. And where we particularly try to work is in a site that work with autonomous systems that have to survive for long periods of time in very austere conditions. And it's for that reason that, in addition to my abiding and deep respect for Paolo, that we decided to sponsor this conference, because we believe that the ability to reflect on and adapt your behavior as a long-duration autonomous system is not just a thing that would be nice to have or would be cool to have, but it's absolutely essential for U.S. military superiority in the area of autonomous systems, which is where all of our strategic endeavors are proceeding. So we're very invested in this, not just intellectually, but we believe that success in this area would have a tremendous operational impact on the military. And so we would very much like to see this area of research not just survive but thrive, so that we can adopt this technology in future autonomous systems.
Well, thank you, Ted. So, actually, one other point here is, we went with SDM basically out of what we thought would be convenient for folks. Alexandria is a place, especially for the East Coasters, really easy to get to, and for those of us who are not on the East Coast, it's a place that you travel to all the time, and there's normally a direct flight. Nothing specific about SDM other than it's a reputable conference. If anyone has suggestions for, hey, I really think it would make sense that we do the workshop in conjunction with something else, I'm open to that. I'd really like to see, future editions of this workshop. Some new things that we've noticed this year, so, psychology and also systems engineering, which just happen to be our two keynotes. A couple papers that are relating to metacognition to test and evaluation, which I think is pretty interesting, because you could think of T&E of AI systems as kind of like the other side of the coin of metacog. A bunch of papers on hyperdimensional computing, and this is kind of Nate's fault, who got to, a bunch of people are doing work in this area. HDC has a lot of attractive aspects to it, especially how in relation to metacognition. So we have a session on that. Explainability in metacognition, that emerged as a really important theme this year, which was also kind of interesting. We have a session on that. And then we also are seeing maturity work on foundation models, which is kind of an interesting trend, because the first version of this workshop was in November of 23. And that was sort of at the point where folks were getting into foundation models were still very early, because a lot of the people that we have, in this event are typically outside of the traditional ML guys that do that, fundamental work on LLMs. We also have a hardware paper this year, which is a nice add. Just some details on the special issue. So this is the timeline that we gave to IEEE. Most likely for everyone, you would need to probably have a bit more than what you had for your non-archival paper. There's a couple exceptions, though, that I've noticed. And if you feel that you reached, and if you're one of those that have reached that standard, you can probably submit with minimal changes, unless provided it hasn't been submitted somewhere else. But abstracts will be due October 1st, and submissions will be due November 1st. I don't think we'll make it any later than that. We purposely made it pretty late in the year, since it's only May right now. Well, here's the website. So the schedule for today is on the site. We do have built-in time breaking for lunch, so if you want to get that, there's the QR code. So our morning keynote is Bonnie, who's going to talk about synthetic cognition for managing technical complexity. So she is a systems engineer, how to enable postgrad. And then our main keynote is Andrea out of UW, who will be talking about the meta and metacognition, and kind of as a, as we think about this as a subfield, I think he's touching on some important questions from a psychological standpoint. And, put one way, if all you do is just, you have a metacognitive process that just improves your AI model, and it's just making it better somehow, then isn't that just a new AI architecture by itself? Is that really metacognition? And how do we define what is metacognition and what is not? And another interesting thing that sort of emerged was we had a couple themes that we centered the talks around. One of them was kind of identifying metacognitive conditions. So when do we make a decision to revise an algorithm, an AI algorithm results? Because if it's something that you could just glean from training and you could have the right answer based on that, how's it different from backpropagation and gradient descent? I would argue it's just like an add-on to that. So, but thinking about, hey, when can we recognize something's going wrong? The other big thrust, explainable AI/metacognition and test and evaluation. So we have another session on that a little bit later. Session on hyperdimensional computing. For those of you who are not aware, basically this is dealing with doing machine learning with these very large hypervectors, usually of discrete values, that allows for an algebra over those hypervectors. And that algebra allows you to gain more insights into what's going on into that vector representation. And then, of course, we have a session on foundation models. This was very natural because we had about the same number of papers in this group as the other ones I had. But I also kind of challenged, that should this really be like a, topic within our subfield, or are foundation models just like another tool that we use that is like everything else? So anyway, we'll have breaks and stuff. If you have any ideas for what we should do to continue to grow this as a subfield, ideas for future iterations of this workshop, me and Nate are open to that. If you want to get involved in like an organizing capacity in the future, that would be great too. This is, very early days, so it's a lot of fun and excitement, I think. And then I'll have one last note, just me personally. So for those of you not aware, I'm moving to Syracuse University this summer. They made a really nice offer for a great position. I'm going to start a new research group there. There's my new email if you want to reach out, and you see, it's probably around midsummer. I'll be slower responding, I guess you